All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Jab's Expensive Paper. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Jeff from Comic Spa. He does absolute wonders to comics. He's got magic hands. I recommend checking out some of the stuff that some of the content on YouTube that he's done on some other comic shows. But we've got him here today. We're going to be talking about some fun stuff. Jay, anything to add to that?
No, just excited. Jeff is really good at what he does. He's a magician, really a master at his craft. He's got a waiting list of 2 years now, or a little bit over.
Yeah.
So it took me a while, but he worked on some of my books that then he sent over to CGC with my account to get graded. And we're going to do a reveal today of those books that he worked on and see what they came back as. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
All right.
Um,
Before we get started, I've got a cold, so if you see me go on mute and the video goes off, just don't worry about it. I'll be back. I'm just taking care of myself. So, all right.
So let's see. I think we have some fellows on chat. Let's say hello. There's Matt from Empress Comics. Hey, it's your Padawan. He's your young Padawan, and you're the Jedi Master.
One of them, anyway.
One of them. And then we also have Doug, the comic collector coach. How are you, Doug? Good to see you.
Hey, Doug.
And yeah,
That's us.
Matt says Jeff is the man. He is the man. The man, the myth, the legend. He's here with us. So, Jeff, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you get started in the hobby and then took a leap into cleaning and pressing? And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I started collecting, and I've told this story a few times, but for me, being introduced to characters and things like that, like I used to tell people I didn't know the difference between DC characters and Marvel characters. We had little collecting figurines that we had when we were kids. We watched Batman on TV, and then over time, like I didn't realize there were comic books. And then once I moved up to Massachusetts from Ohio, I had a friend that I met in high school or middle school, and he kind of turned me on to comics. I'm like, oh, I used to watch TV, and so I started getting into him, and I started to love him, and he started taking me to the local nearest shop that we can pick up books, and we'd go to the nearest mall to pick up even more books because it was cheaper to go to a mall than it was to go to the rack. I mean, it wasn't that expensive, but I think back then it was 25 cents, 30 cents, 35 cents, somewhere around there. But you could go to the mall and you could get twice the amount of books, and I probably had some good ones in there at one time. But that's kind of how I started into comics. And then cleaning and pressing, I just one day I forget what I was watching. I got online and I saw that there was a couple websites where there were guys that were actually doing this, and I kind of stumbled on it actually. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. I'll see if I can do that with my books. And I just went and got a bunch of crappy books before working on my I wasn't gonna work on my books yet. And then once I got the technique of kind of doing it, I know I wasn't going to make any mistakes. I started doing it. It was coming out good, and then I started taking the dip, and that's kind of the reason why I did it. I really did it to improve my collection, and then as I got to doing it, I kind of enjoyed it. And then it was one day I went into my local LCS and was telling him some things he could do to his book to kind of make it better. And he goes, well, it sounds like you know what you're doing. He goes, if you want, can I give you a couple books to see how you do with them? And I said, sure. And I brought him home and I worked on them. He loved them. They were Ninja Turtle books, and he loved them so much he finally gave me the better ones. The first print, or maybe it was the third print of the very first book. I think it was third print of the very first book. I think he had 2 copies of it, and I worked on those, and he liked how they came out. And then I started doing them, and then he started telling people that were coming into the shop that, hey, I've got a guy that does this if you want somebody local. And from there, that's where I met Mike, and he came into the shop one day, and I said, hey, if you give me a book, I'll show you what I can do. And he liked it, and so he gave me a couple more, and he says, hey, I just want to let you know I'm a YouTuber. And of course, I didn't really pay attention to any of that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden one day I was getting all these, I told him what my email was and stuff, and all of a sudden I was getting all these people trying to contact me, and I'm like, I wonder where this is coming from. I didn't really know where. Then it dawned on me about Mike, and so I contacted him, and he goes, yeah, I got a few subscribers. I don't think he had a lot at that time because it was just starting off. So he, I started with him almost exactly the same time. Yeah, he ended up, he took off. I don't think I can ever remember. I saw all the other YouTubers that were out there, and I don't ever remember anybody taking off as fast as he did, from the beginning all the way to, I think when he hit his first 1,000 subscriber, I mean, that was pretty good. Uh, so that was kind of it. And then I just got deeper and deeper, learned more stuff, and I've been enjoying it ever since. And then that's what it happened to be for me, was I just enjoyed doing this more than even the collecting anymore, because I did it for years. I figure I did it since I was 17, and you know, uh, I got my passion out of it. I got my joy out of it. So it was fun.
Awesome.
So your journey really starts with Mike as it goes full dive into cleaning and pressing.
It kind of was, and it was so funny because he had said to me, he goes, I don't know if you're going to be ready for this. He says, because I don't know what to expect either. And we had that discussion over the phone. I said, I'm able to keep up with all the local people, but I said, I don't know what this is going to be like on the larger scale. I didn't know how this was going to be. And so, once he finally had me on, we went from there. I started getting more and more calls, and as to where I'm at now, having 2 years worth of books, I mean, it started slow and it took off. And, I felt bad in the beginning because I couldn't get them out as quick as I thought I could. And I wasn't going to be doing anybody favors, working on them any faster. So I just kept the pace that I knew I was comfortable at. And, I kept getting more and more backed up, but I couldn't be concerned with it. I would just keep telling people, hey, I apologize. I can't, I'm backed up by, a half a year, then I went to a year, then a year and a half. But people are willing to wait. I was really surprised how long people are willing to wait, for me to get to them, and they're completely content. I mean, anytime you get to 2 years, I wouldn't think people would wait that long to do something out there. So now what I do is, since Matt's on, I give Matt's name out a lot now too, because I call him Mr. 9.8 because he really, it seems like any book he gets, he's pumping out 9.8. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, he's good. For those of you obviously that don't know Mike, who we're talking about, you've been living under the rock for the past 5 years. That's Mike from Lunch Money Comics. And Matt from Empress Comics, who's here with us too, does a terrific job doing cleaning and pressing. If you don't know who he is, I'd recommend you go watch his channel, give him a sub, and check out the video that he did cleaning a book for Brandon from Mon Comics. Um, our hearts are still with you, and our prayers are with you, man.
Yep, Brandon.
But go watch that because he worked on a book that was signed by Keanu Reeves. It's a foil. It had a small crease, and he managed to get it out and polish it, and it came back as a 9.8. And that just journey is amazing. So go give him a follow, go give him a sub, and yeah, it's good that there's other people that are interested in, because I got to be honest. Part of me wants to kind of dive in, but I'm afraid that I'm going to screw up my books. And I'm afraid that I'm going to do, the cheap ones right. But then when it comes to that big one that I want to do myself, I'm going to manage to screw it up. And then I'm not going to want to do anything to do with it. So, how did you get over that hump of, oh, this is a big book. This is a Ninja Turtles #1 first edition or whatever issue it was?
Right. So it's really about creating the technique. Like once you get down doing what you're doing every single time, like say when you're dry cleaning it, you're going to do it a certain way. Like I tend to, like when I'm looking at the cover, the most difficult part of the book is really the outside. And so that's what I do. I start working, the bottom, across the top, going across the side, go up the top, come down the side. And when you're working with the older books, I mean, it gets to be tough. I mean, they might be chipped, there might be tears, and it makes it that much more difficult to kind of work in those areas. But you go buy a bunch of those, you start working on it. The more you keep doing it, the more you learn, like how gently you should be touching the book. Make sure you kind of clean your hands. I'm very tactile. I don't like to wear gloves. So when I do my technique, I make less mistakes that way. So I just remember to wash my hands. And yeah, it's all about techniques. Once you learn those techniques, you're not going to question anymore. You're just, each time you go to do it, you're just going to see it as another book. You really are. Like once you've done like Matt's done a few Hulk 181s now. Once you've done a few of them, you don't really think about it as much anymore, unless it looks like it's a really difficult book. But you tell people ahead of time that, look at this, I'm going to do the best I can, but depending on the condition of this book, it might be difficult for, say this piece not to fall off. I mean, you're handling it. There's no way you're going to be able to not, it's got to be, the paper's got to be strong. And if it's not strong, now you got the possibilities of mistakes happening, and you're not trying to have anything bad happen, but you're going to give it your best shot. And that's what you do. And so it's about the techniques. Once you learn them, you won't question yourself after that after a while. So you just do a bunch of them.
One of the most surprising things that I saw you do on Mike's channel was the aqueous bath.
Aqueous bath, yeah.
Yeah, when you're submerging those pages in water. How in the okay? Because like for me, I would I would never dream of like thinking I could just submerge paper in water like that and it being okay. Because like I've gotten books wet before, just on accident, chapter books or something like that, and then
Yep.
it seems like they're ruined. So how did you get to that point of just knowing it was going to be okay?
So I guess it's because when there was a point at which I got out of comics and I started working for a company because I got into computers. That was my background. I was, before they started calling things IT, companies only had individual computers in all their departments, and they never talked to one another. It was all independent. So I worked for this company where they wanted to hire me in was, working in the lab, and then I was going to help, bring the computers on. And I kind of did that. We had basic, we had IBM, the big clunkers, that's all we had at the time. But I knew how to use them. And so it kind of helped, say the other technicians. And so that's kind of what I did. I just, it got to be where, I learned everything about paper because we were a paper company. So we work with paper, film. I worked in a lab, and that's what we did. We, whenever we coded, because back in the day when copy paper came out, it was coded. It wasn't just paper. And we learned everything you could about, the laying the coating on it. How the paper would react in water, how it would react in the oven, because we had ovens, and we did shrink tests and all this other stuff. And so it wasn't until I saw that show that I realized, like I said, when I saw that guy doing the books, I'm like, oh my God, I worked with paper so much in my job for years that, I never thought of doing this with a comic. So again, that's what I did. I went out and bought a whole bunch of old comic books, and I just started taking them apart and doing things. And, I learned that I could, I seen a couple places online where they were kind of doing it. I thought, well, yeah, this makes sense. So I just started doing it. I used to watch Jerry the Jitterbug, and I saw, he had a whole system already set up where, he had a tub, and I thought, well, this is all I need. This is perfect. I'll just kind of copy what he did, and it made it easy for me to do the bath because I was just going to create my own thing, but this made it so much simpler. You already took that having to think about it away. Uh, so that's kind of how I started. I just started doing it, and I knew that paper shrinks, so I knew I had to get water out of it quickly, and then let it air dry, and that was kind of it. In the beginning, like you had to learn, like you had to put weights on it. You didn't want the book to shrink. Some books, some different generations, it's hard to keep them from not shrinking, and it could be because of the paper that they used. I mean, every decade, everything's different. I mean, the inks that they use, the paper that they use, the process that they use, and so that was another thing you had to learn how to do. Each company does something different, so you had to kind of learn all that stuff. Yeah. So it was really just one book after another, just keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah. Was that like the most surprising thing for you on this journey, like learning how to clean comics, or was there another technique that really took you by surprise?
I would say, as you would learn something, you were happy to make your process that much quicker. So that's the thing that made it kind of fun, is that at a certain point, you want to be able to do a little bit more volume, not go quicker. You just want to be able to do volume through techniques. Like I would learn, like when I get a client's book, I tell them to send 6 at a time just to be fair, so I can see, other clients and they get their turn. I learned to do the most difficult book first because I knew it was going to need more time in the presses. It was going to need more time under cold pressing. And so, if you did that one first, time wise, I would get them all done almost at the same time and get them out. But in the beginning, I was maybe doing, a couple difficult ones at the end, but then that would hold that client off, and it would take me another week and a half. And so again, it was all a learning process of, how to do it, the right way, and just kind of enjoy it. So the fun is, and Matt will tell you this, is how far can you bring each book? What's the best you can do and know when to stop, because there's a point at which you're going to start damaging it. There's just,
Yeah.
you want to get it to, a 9.8. It's it's not going to be possible. Color breaking ticks, color breaking creases, you're not going to be anywhere near that. So, but you get good at actually at grading, by doing that. You kind of know where you are in the realm of, I mean, you may not be perfect, but you can get, you can get pretty close. I've learned through the whole time doing this. Like, I think there was one show that Brandon and I and Mike had done where he had a book. We learned that the cover didn't match the book. It was a Frankenstein book, and we learned a lot about it. Like, we learned you can get up to a 4.0 on a detached cover. I didn't know that until I read the CGC Bible. I call it the Bible. I didn't think you could get a grade that high on a detached cover.
Huh.
I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned cold pressing, and I know that CGC just does cold press, right? As far as I know, but correct me if I'm wrong on that.
That I don't know. I don't
Oh,
even know.
okay.
I hear a lot of people complaining about their, books that they'll get back from them. So I would think they would be beyond that. I would think they would
Yeah.
be using steam and heat in order to do it. Maybe not so much with the golden books, because those are, you got to watch it with them. But they tend to be more brittle, acidic. You don't want to bring too
Yeah.
much heat on them. So those I could see being more cold pressed,
Okay.
than the
Is
other ones.
there, to your knowledge, is there a benefit, or maybe like why would you go cold press over doing heat press?
You're going to do both. And the reason you do both is, the heat and the moisture help to manipulate. You're trying to relax the paper, get it flat again. I mean, obviously some creases, the paper fibers are damaged. So yes, you can steam it, press it, in heat, and then you'll get it flat. And then you don't want it to revert. And so sometimes with those bigger, heavier creases, it's better to put it in the cold press because you want it to stay there for a while to get, it's like a memorization. But again, if you take these books out into the humidity, if the paper fibers in those creases are really bad, they're just going to revert. There's not much you can do about it. So I've been kind of telling people for the longest time, like, if you get a book that's got heavy creases or ticks, you may not want to send it to CGC or wherever, CBCS, out in Texas. You may want to send it, kind of in the colder months. You're not going to have it revert, but you can go to shows and sometimes you'll pick up those encapsulated books and, you look at them and you can say, maybe the grade says an 8.0 and then you'll see a whole bunch of creases in it again. And it's probably reverted, even though it's got the inner well,
Hmm.
it's still, moisture can get in there. Book is made out of moisture, and all you got to do is just release it from the rest of the book, and it'll affect, the creases that are in the weak part of the book. So, I've gone to many shows in New York. I went to the Big Apple Con, and I can't tell you how many books I was picking up in the light and looking at them, and they didn't look like the grades they had on the covers.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have a
So,
couple like that too. I'm like, oh, that got a high grade, but yeah, it's crazy what the atmosphere does, and yeah,
yeah,
just how paper reacts to it. So
yeah.
You mentioned with an episode that you had with Brandon and Mike about finding that the cover was married and it was a Frankenstein book. Have you had to had many difficult conversations with clients because they send you their book and they've like, oh man, this is not what you think it is, and how does that go?
Well, this is where it's great about the review that I do before I start. You know, I get the book from usually the client. I usually go through. You've seen the pictures. Usually, I tell you all the defects and stuff. And if I do see something very odd, I do tell them right away that something, like, I've seen plenty of books where I'd see extra staple marks, things like that where, and I think that's what the case was Brandon's. I think the staple marks were on the inside interior pages, but the cover didn't have that. It didn't have the hole punches on the cover, going straight through on both sides. And I thought, well, there's your clue right there. That's one of the clues. And that the stains on the cover didn't match the stains that were on the interior pages. So that's I'm kind of remembering all this now that we're talking about Brandon's book. And so, that kind of stuff will happen. And I'll tell them, this is what you're dealing with. This is what you got. I don't know where you got it. I don't know what you paid, but, do you want me to continue, or do you want me just to send it back to you, for you to make your decision what you want me to do next? And that's usually it. So I like that I didn't realize that was going to be a benefit when I started that process to do that with everybody, because I wanted them to be in the driver's seat. Even though I was working on the book, I wanted them to be able to say, look, these are the things I suggest that I think you should have done with it. This is what I'm going to charge. What do you want to do? Is usually what I'll tell them. And then in the end, They either want to agree to do what I'm saying, and then I'll do the disclaimer saying, okay, here's some things that could happen, especially if you use the aqueous bath. There's a possibility that this could happen because we don't know where this book has been in the environment. We don't know, how it's going to react, the paper is going to react to the process of going through the aqueous bath. I've probably worked on maybe, actually, I'm probably up there, and I think I'm over 50 books now for aqueous bath. And I've only had 2 books that came out bad. I had one where the paper underneath the staple split. It just didn't handle, even though it didn't look acidic and stiff and brittle. It just all of a sudden it split on me, and I told them, I said, I'm surprised. I'll cover the cost of the book, and that's how I learned to put out a disclaimer ahead of time to say, I use the same process, nothing changes. I don't know how this is going to end up being when we go through this. So that's the only one that can be kind of iffy. So that's why it was a big, it was a big scare for Mike to, put that book through. I had no problem doing it. We were joking about, hey, it's not my book. I gave you the disclaimer, but I also know it's my technique. I know I use the same one every single time. So, if it does something different, I know it was the environment, wherever it was exposed, what the history of the book was. So yeah.
And you mentioned that the conditions of the book are important, right? And also the environment and where it's been. Are there books that you won't work with because just because they're old and the environment was, drier or something? Are there books that you would definitely say, you know what, I can't work on this book. It's this era where the paper was completely crap. I don't even want to touch it because it's going to fall apart. It's so brittle as soon as I handle the book.
It is about condition, because I had somebody contact me one time. They had a Spider-Man #1, and they said, "Oh, I hear you're magical. I heard you can turn any book into whatever the grade it was." And I got the book and I looked at it, and it was like, I'm going to be honest with you, there's nothing I can do to improve this book. The paper quality was so bad. I mean, yeah, I could have made some money off it, but it was really about me trying to improve it. That's what I wanted him to get out of it. And I just could tell by looking at it. The paper wasn't even really brittle. It was just the damage that had been done to the book. It was so bad that I said, I really can't bring you anything I can't improve. To me, it was about the presentation. There was no way that I could improve the presentation. It had so many defects. It's almost it wasn't Hagen. We joke about it. Hagen sent me his book. He had Avengers 4, and
Hmm.
it was really, I mean, it had a lot of creases on it. And but the book that this guy had sent me was way worse than what his Avengers 4 was. So this one, at least I knew with Hagen's, I knew I could make it better, and I knew it would be fun. Keep it out of the moisture, out of the humidity, which is hard where he lives. Um, but this one that the gentleman had, the Spider-Man one, that one was a tough one. And I've had a couple other ones. It's definitely the brittle books. Those are the ones, I'll tell them right away that, look, I can't really introduce it to heat. I can probably give it some moisture. I'm gonna cold press it. It's tough to like even buff them. You really have to be careful with them. So, but especially if it has some value, because I've worked on some, most of the, golden age, especially if it's a famous artist on it, usually going to bring some kind of value to the book. So I'll still do them if they want me to. I just did one from JP. He had one that was in pretty rough shape, and they're fun to work on. To me, that's the challenge. I love working on them. To see the best shape I can get them in. To me, that's the whole thing for me. That's what I get out of it now. So that's why I enjoy, kind of doing this job so much.
That's awesome, and it's good that you get something out of it because you to see somebody like we're probably going to see me look at the grades and see somebody excited about what you did, obviously also has to bring some joy to what you're doing and built on that, right? It's not just what you're doing, but how you're making people feel after you've done it.
To me, my comics were my prized possessions. To me, they were everything. Like I never wanted anybody. They were never nobody else's hands. They were at one time, like especially when I got my early Avengers. I got some books from one gentleman, I think, and this was the '70s. He had a bunch of really nice Avengers, and back then it was a really good deal. And he was the only one that ever had them. And so I think I was saying to you, Jay, I think one of the
Yeah.
books, the Avengers 7, you are the third owner of that book, and I know that for sure. Nobody else has owned that book but 2 other people, me and that other gentleman. So and you can tell, I mean, the fact that it's a 7.5, You know, nobody played around with it. It doesn't mean they didn't love it. They loved it so much they didn't want to touch it. That's kind of the way I was as a collector. I really wanted to have better copies. Like whenever we would go to shows, if I saw a better 9, you know, I would buy it and get rid of the old 9 that I had, and just like I think everybody else does now. So
So that's something I wanted to ask you when I got this book, but I wanted to wait until I could do it live. Is this book did you get it raw, clean it, press it, and send it off to CGC, or did you buy it from the gentleman graded?
oh God, no, this goes way back. So you figure the 70s. So everything was raw. So, you know, I got it from him. I just automatically, so in the beginning, we didn't have boards and bags. So, you know, I had to watch how I would put my comics in my box. So I used to do mine like 3 one direction, and then I would flip it and do 3 another direction. So, you know, when you'd go through my box, it was really kind of messy. It didn't look like it was any numerical order, but it was really about me trying to keep them from, you know, having anything weird happen to him. So, especially in the condition that he gave them to me, I was like, oh my God, these are really, really nice books. So then when they came out with the board and bags, you know, that's when I started using them. And even the original boards really weren't that great when they first came out. It was just something to put stiff behind it. Um, and yeah, that's kind of how I did. And I've changed the bags on them over time. You know, you would see the discoloration get into the actual
Mhm.
bag. I know the bags are a lot better. You don't see it happen as much,
Mhm.
but yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Then I have a book that Jeff acquired raw. He worked on it, sent it off to CGC, and now it's mine. So be jealous, Legion, Longbox Legionnaires. Okay, so before we jump into the unveiling of some grades, I want people to understand why you are back top 2 years. It's not a $15 clean and press. You put it in the heat iron, forget about it for 24 hours, come back and send it off. We send you the books, you look at them, you send us back pictures and say, here are some of the defects. This is what I can do. And you use terms like aqueous bath or tack iron, that kind of thing. Can you walk us through what the process is, and not just of how you're working on the book, but what do some of these things mean for us that don't do cleaning and pressing?
Yeah, so what I'll do is as soon as they send me the books, I kind of tell them that yes, they made them, they weren't damaged, you know, everything came out. Because, you know, again, you know, if they were like my books, I'm worried from the time they leave my hands to the time they come back. So, you know, I thought, you know, I'll treat it as if they're my books, and I'll tell them, hey, your books got here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to review, I'm going to circle all the defects, and then I'm going to send them to you, and then you tell me. And I do them one by one. I can't, you know, obviously I'm not going to do them all at the same time.
Right.
And so, you know, they look at them and then they say, oh my God, I didn't see half those defects. I've had them where they see them and there's so many, now they don't want me to work on it. You know, maybe they were shooting for a 9.8 or a 9.6 or whatever.
Hmm.
And so it keeps me from actually working on it, and I'll put it to the side and I'll get the next book. And so once I'm done with that, once I get to that stage, I start working on 'em. So the very first thing I'll do is usually it's dry cleaning. I mean, I try to kind of tackle that first. And, you know, I'll go and I get that pretty much clean. You know, I'll get, you know, pretty much as much stuff off as I can. You know, I have my tools, you know, that I kind of work with. You know, I have certain erasers that I work with, and things of that nature. And then once I get it clean, the next thing I'll do is I usually take with distilled water, I wet one end of a paper towel that I know that doesn't have any oils in it. It's pretty much free of all that because I don't want to add anything to the book. I'm trying to keep things out of the book. And I take that one paper towel and I kind of wet one end of it. I roll it all up, kind of get in it, and so the moisture absorbs to the rest of the paper towel. So that tells me there's not as much moisture, and I don't want a lot of moisture, and I want as little as possible. And I take that and I kind of rub the top of the cover, you know, as best I can to see if I can get a little bit more, you know, dirt and stuff off the top of it, you know, both sides. And then once I'm done with that, then I start trying to work on all the other stuff. So like if there's creases and things like that, you know, I'll use a tack iron. If a book needs, you know, other things like say if there's mold, you know, I'll use my ozone chamber. I need to kind of kill the mold so it doesn't spread any further. Mold is really one of the toughest things to kind of get out of a book. You know, once that darkness gets inside the paper, because it gets right into the paper, it's really difficult to get out. Sometimes you're lucky and it's a surface mold and you can get some of it off, but for the most part, you know, it's really almost next to impossible. And then, you know, before I start doing ticks, if it looks like it has stains in it, and I feel like it's going to need to be aqueous bath, and they agree, that's when I take the book apart and, I start, putting the cover in the bath. Maybe I'll put the interior pages in a press just to pre-press them so that they're flat themselves. Cause sometimes, they're coming to me with waves in them, some aren't really bad, some other ones are. Maybe it's just a stain on the cover. And then I'll do that. And then from that stage, I start thinking about the pressing. So I'll add a little bit of moisture again to it because I want to relax the paper before I put it in the press, the heat press, and I may have to do it a couple times. Usually, once I get it out of the aqueous bath, I usually don't have to do it as much. If it's a book that didn't go through the aqueous bath, I may have to do it like 3 or 4 times. As as Matt knows, I mean, depending how bad the defect is, you may have to do it a few times to get it as flat as you can. And then from there, I'll put it in the cold press, and then if it looks really good, I'll do the buffing ahead of time, or maybe I'll do it later. But every book I do, it gets a buff, unless it's like a matte paper. You really can't buff a matte paper depending on where the book was made by a certain company, maybe some independent companies, the older ones, they didn't have that. So and then when it's done, that's it. That's kind of the stages. And there's other techniques and things that I do. I may need to use the light box, if it's got some tanning in it, see if I can lighten it up, because I'm kind of a purist. I don't use hydrogen peroxide. I know a lot of people out there, there's some people that use it, but I've noticed the texture of the paper changing, and I don't know over time, what that is going to do to the book. And so I don't want to take that chance. My whole philosophy is I want to improve the book. I don't want to you make it worse. I can only take it to a certain level. If that's the case, then that's the case. The story, the book has a story on the outside as much as it has on the inside. So
Yeah, it seems like hydrogen peroxide would almost be like an additive to to the book, but
yeah, I think if most, people, there's a huge argument right now about what's restoration. I mean, really, when you think about it, if I'm trying to bring this book back to what it was supposed to be, isn't that really restoration? Anything I'm doing, any technique I'm using is really restoration. It's the way they used the word restoration in the very beginning. They were using the term when they were, putting things in the book to make it look better, and it was okay at that time. You were trying to improve the book in the 60s, it was okay. Nobody had a, but then you got, you know, people coming in and now they're trying to make a buck off of it, and we're using bad techniques. And so I think, unfortunately, the word restoration has been abused, I think, over time, and it doesn't fit really what it means anymore. I think, at least in my eyes, I don't think it does.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's a fine line, right, between restoration and conservation, preservation.
Right.
Because
Yep.
some of what we are trying to do, well, you guys, is more of that conservation, keep it in a good spot so that it's still clean and it's not moldy, that kind of thing. So it's in good shape, but you're not actually putting staples or adding a Frankenstein book, putting a cover that doesn't belong in that book. That's a big difference, I think. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you, Jerry the Jitterbug, he does a lot of conserving. I don't do that much conserving. I mean, he works with a lot of Golden Age books, so he's trying to save these books. I mean, there's only so many of them out there, and I mean, he's pretty much letting everybody know that this is what I'm doing to the book. When he sends it to CGC or wherever, CBCS, he states that this is what I've done to the book, and he knows, he's trying to get a conservation grade. Uh, and so I see that as a good thing. To me, there's nothing wrong with that. So
yeah.
yeah.
What kind of just random question? Brand of paper towel do you recommend?
I tend to I have not had any issue with like the Costco, or in our area we have some called BJ's. They seem to be pretty decent, and all you have to do is if you had a set of glasses like I do, I just rubbed them on my glasses. That's how I found out whether or not it was something fairly oily or not oily.
Okay.
And they'll tell you actually, like on the bag sometimes, that contains this, contains that. So at least if I know it's on there, I know not to get it. So I haven't had too much trouble with them. They seem to work pretty good for me. So that was my biggest concern. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, now that you've kind of walked us through the process, why don't we jump into the unveiling?
Let's do it.
yeah, neither one of you guys know. You don't know anything at all,
We
right?
don't
I don't know
I
anything.
haven't seen him.
And I think
The
Jay's
only-
wife hid the grades from him, so he can't
Yes,
even. This is
yes.
all live reactions.
So for those of you watching, we're gonna go through some unveiling. I don't know the grades. My wife was kind enough to put post-its over the grades so that I wouldn't know what they are. We didn't have to go through the whole unboxing and, getting a bunch of bubble wrap and stuff during the live. So thanks to her. We're going to show some of the pictures that Jeff sent me, as you mentioned before, when he was about to work on the books. And we might put a little bit of his memory to the test, see if he remembers some of the work that he did and what he thought the grade would be, or the grade that it was when he received the book, than what he thought it could be once he received it. And the grade you see on the screen is actually what the CGC forums say the book could be. So, without further ado, Jeff, do you remember ASM 19?
I remember it definitely had, like I said, you can see I pointed them out. So this is basically what I send to clients, like the first step. I go through and it looks like it's a ton of things on there, and there's no color for a defect. It's just, I just want the defects to stand out so I can identify to the client, what they all are. So, this one definitely had quite a little bit of everything. And so, I just kind of identified everything to say, you know, some things you're going to be able to improve and some things you're not. Like if it's ink related, most chances you can't. If it has a pencil mark, I ask the client, do you want to keep it? If you don't, I can try to remove it, especially if it's in the white area of the book. I'll say you got a shot. If you want to remove it, we can. But yeah, this one had a little bit of everything as you're seeing on there. I say whether or not it's damaged. Yep, plenty of creases.
Yep.
So, and I tell them exactly what I'm going to do to it. If it needs to have. So this one was definitely a clean press, buff, tack iron. And then I used moisture during the heat press, and it did more than one pressing. It was like 2 or 3 pressings, I think, for this one.
Okay. Do you remember what kind of condition / grade it was when you got
I
it?
don't. That's the only thing I don't remember is
Okay.
the actual grades. Yeah.
That's fine. CGC Forum said it could be anywhere from a 3 to a 4. So here's the book. Here's my wife's handiwork with the Post-it notes.
Do you want to, before you reveal that, do you want to switch back to, actually, I can, there we go.
Just so there you
see
go.
it. Yeah.
Well, what did you guys think it was?
I honestly have no idea. So
Okay.
I'm going kind of with the CGC forums. Max has not seen them, and I didn't send him the links to the forums because I was not thinking straight, obviously. So let's see. It is 4.0.
Oh, nice.
All right.
4.0.
Congrats.
So
Yes.
CGC forum said
Nice work,
anywhere
Jeff.
between 3 and a 4. I can
Yes.
tell you that when I got this book, I got it as a 2.0.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
Jeff, whatever you did, this is why we call you the wizard.
The magic man.
Thank you.
The magic man indeed. So, thank you, Jeff. This is awesome. I'm super pumped about owning that book, let alone in that grade when the condition I bought it in was supposed to be a 2. So, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. Whoop. And if we go over here, the next one is a Batman 251. Do you remember this one?
Yep. So as you can see, it definitely had a little bit of everything. This one was dirty from what I remember. The one nice thing about the DC books is they're a little bit easier to work with. The actual quality of their paper is a lot better, especially from this time period. Like sometimes when you're working on them, you can take stuff out of the book and you don't want to do that. You want it to be, you want to leave as much as you can in there. But these you can work a little harder on them and it doesn't damage the book. So as you can see, this had blunting and all kinds of things on there, creases, ink. It was definitely a very loved book.
Yes,
So,
it was very well loved, and I think that's why I only paid, I think,
Jay,
$100.
wasn't I with you? I think I was with you with this one.
You were with me, and I paid they had it as a 2.0 as well, I think.
Yeah, but didn't they have it like mispriced too?
Something. I honestly don't remember.
There was
It
something
so
weird with
long
it
ago.
like that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's one thing I'm going to want to know too is like what was the grade? Because I don't think we ever talked about that when you sent it to me. Like I don't even know what you bought it as or what they told you it was.
I think that was also labeled as a 2.0 or something, 2.5. So let's take a peek. Oh.
5.5. Wow.
5.5.
And what did the forum
So
say on that one?
the forum said 4.5 to 5.0.
Oh, there you go. Wow, nice.
So forum's been under so far. Anyone taking bets in the chat?
That's always a good thing, though.
You know, I tend to be conservative. I still feel like I'll be honest with you, and you're going to hate me, but I feel like whatever grade I gave you, I feel like that's really what the grade's supposed to be. So I'm
Yeah.
happy for you. I'm happy for you guys, but yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. Next, we have one of my favorite covers of all time, Fantastic Four number 50. A lot of people hate this book because of the brown in it. I love it. So, yeah, do you remember anything on this one,
Is
Jeff?
this the one that Johnny goes off to college? I think isn't that on the cover? I think.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's one thing I remember about that book. Yeah, this one didn't have as many defects, although it did have the stress lines. They're calling. I'm trying to follow what CGC calls. It makes it actually a little bit easier for me. Instead of calling them ticks, you call them stress lines because whether they have color breaking or not, you know, they're stress lines. So I kind of agree with that one. Yeah, this one had creases, stable creases. You know, there was definitely a bunch of things on this one. This one was I would say better than the other two books that you had, condition wise. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it was in better shape. This one, I don't remember what grade I got it as. I think the condition they say was fine. So what does that equate to? Like a 5?
6, usually a fine is a 6, usually.
Okay, so 6. So we'll see. And the winner is
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
7.0.
Yeah, nice.
7.0.
Nice.
Man, I'm excited.
Great
I know
work, Jeff.
exactly where this is going. And as you can see, I even put the custom label. For those of you that know me, you know me. I love the
You love your
Fantastic Four.
customs.
So let's.
Oh, we lose Jeff.
We lost Jeff.
We lost Jeff.
So, man, look at that 7.0.
Congratulations. That is cool, man.
So
that is
excited.
pretty cool.
So stoked.
Okay, he's back. I'm going to add him back in here.
Yeah, something
There we
happened. I got lost.
That's all right. That's
That
all right.
happens.
You're back. I'm just super excited about this, Jeff. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And so, Bax, none of these were yours. These are all Jay. These were
No, this is all his. Yeah.
Oh, it is okay.
Yep.
We'll have to do one for him now
Yeah.
that, now that
there's
we
a
know.
couple.
There's a couple. We might have to wait 2 years, but
Yeah.
it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. Doug says never seen anything higher. Doug, I've only seen it in pictures in eBay, and I was not going to pay 8.0 prices on eBay for this book. So you have no idea how excited I am right now. All right. Next up, we have one that CGC has seen more times than I can't possibly imagine. ASM 300.
I remember when you got this one too. You were pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, you could see the spine definitely had received some damage, like somebody must have dropped it or something. Although it would have been on the bottom of the spine if they had dropped it. So maybe it just got, twisted, I guess, maybe in a box or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened. Fantastic, that joke. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, so the forum, this one gave a very wide range. They
Yeah,
said
this is going to
from
be interesting.
6.5 to 8.0. So let's see.
So what did they tell you? What did you think it was originally?
Originally, I got this as also a fine, so like a 6.
6, okay.
So, nope. Fingers ready. 7.5.
Ooh.
Okay.
7.5. It is a newsstand though, so these are always a little tougher in grade to find. So, still super excited. Again, if you know me, you know that Venom's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. So, super excited to have his first appearance, full appearance, whatever you want to call it, with Todd McFarlane in the pencils. I don't remember if he did the inks or not, but
It's a great cover. I always thought it was a
It
good
is.
cover.
it is.
Iconic.
I'm working on one right now. It's not as good shape as yours though. His is kind of hurting, so I'm trying to do the best I can on it.
If I'm sure that if you do what you did to mine, he'll be happy because you improved it, from that 6.0 to a 7.5. So,
Thank you, thank you.
all right. Next up, we have an old one.
Oh,
Dare,
16.
Daredevil 16.
Daredevil 16. Yeah.
So this one also has a special place in my heart because this is the first time Ditko draws, or Romita, sorry,
Romita. Yeah.
Romita draws Spider-Man in a Daredevil. So,
And again, this one wasn't in too bad a shape. I mean, it had its spots on it, that I remember. Like I you hate seeing ink marks and things like that because obviously, there's not much I can do about that. But most books I get, they all have spine issues. It's where you expect to have them. You just hope you don't have any big creases on them. And you would expect certain things like fraying. Just because the age of the book, that's an aging thing, the fraying.
right.
But all the other stuff, yeah, it's not too bad.
And the grade is 3.5.
3.5.
So
Hmm.
I also got this as a 2.0. So
Oh, nice. That
Oh.
one
So
presented
far,
really well.
Yeah, I was
it
just gonna ask,
does.
how's that look, Jay? Like,
It looks amazing.
yeah.
And the colors really pop. I remember them being a little more muted when I sent them over to Jeff. So again, just what he did is a testament to the kind of work he puts out there,
That's
and
what's
explain why he's backed up 2 years.
This is what's great about buffing. It really does bring the everything. It's like, and Matt would understand this. It's almost like working on a car. You're really getting what is already in the book back out again. It's been in the environment so long. You're just trying to bring that back. All that gloss is in there. I'm not adding anything to it. This is in the book.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
That's so
And this
cool.
one, I couldn't put it on here because I couldn't find the picture. But the one that dipped the grade really bad is that it has an actual chunk missing.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it would have been a much higher grade, I think. But
Mm.
it's
I
a
think that's
huge chunk right here.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, I knew it was something. I just couldn't remember what it was.
Okay.
Right here.
That'll do it. And CGC in their book tells you like if it gets over a certain size, it'll get. This is kind of what the typical grades you would get for having that size of piece missing, whether it's on the interior page, exterior, especially is worse. But
Hmm. Yes, sir. Next up, oh, Matt with another dad joke. It's gotta be amazing. It's devilish, Matt. It's devilish. Next up, we have another McFarlane.
Classic.
Classic.
Done a lot of these, that's for sure.
I'm sure. I'm sure a lot of your clients are about my age, grew up with this.
Yes. Yep.
So
Yep.
this one was in rough shape, and if I remember correctly, you said this is the one that gave you the most trouble.
It did. I remember having to do, a lot with it, but I could see that there was a lot of things I could improve it, and I just knew it would kind of take a little bit more time. Like I don't charge for like extra pressings. The press is doing all the work, so it's not really laborious. I mean, yeah, I have to take it out and put it back in, but I just don't think that it's when you're having to physically do labor, like trying to get out indents and things like that. Now that's laborious. Usually that's when I start doing that. But what the great thing about this book is I didn't know the history of why he did the cover the way he did, and then it wasn't until much later on that it was because he was on a time schedule and
Yeah,
he had to do it really quick. I didn't know anything about that until and I think I learned this way later on too.
yeah. He
So
was in a rush, because the person that was going to did it, I don't remember who it was. Um, at the end of the day, didn't end up making the cover, so they didn't have another choice but go to McFarlane, and he was under a super tight deadline, and he was like, "Well, best I can do is just put in a bunch of black in there and a big cape, and that's it."
what a great cover! It's awesome.
Happy accidents, he calls them. He has a lot of
There's
happy
so many.
accidents.
It's like his whole career.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like with Spawn, one of the most iconic villains is called Violator. And he said that he came up with the name because he was parked somewhere. I think it was New York City or somewhere. He was parked waiting in the car for his wife to come, and he saw a sign that said violators will be towed. He's like, oh, Violator, that's a cool name. And that's how he grabbed it. So
See, I didn't know that either. Oh, wow, that's interesting.
happy accidents, he calls them.
Yeah.
So
So for your generation, would you say this would be your top artist for you guys to collect, or was it one, was he considered like the top, or I don't know how you guys look at your artists of your generation?
I view him in a pretty high regard. Yeah, he's one of my favorites just because of the nostalgia and his
for
style.
me, it definitely was because, he turned a classic, which was Spider-Man, into something else. Like a lot of the
Yeah, he
previous
elevated him.
artists, a lot of
Yeah.
exactly, a lot of the previous artists, I think, were doing a lot of the same and didn't actually change him. Whereas he, changed the way he moved, the way he looked with the big eyes,
Mhm.
how he made it even crawl, the spaghetti webs, those
Mhm.
are iconic and everybody uses those nowadays. But before him, it was a lot of the same. It was just regurgitated. So
He made things stand out, like almost a 3D effect. Like he knew how to
Yeah.
do things so that, like, as if he was coming out of the cover. I mean, that's the thing I kind of liked about his artwork. And like you said, the spaghetti webs, I thought that was like the coolest thing. I mean, who puts that kind of detail into
Yeah,
right.
right.
a
It's the
web?
detail. It's like captivating. It just draws you
Yeah.
in.
So
Oh,
before him, growing up, I did a lot of like the classics. So your Ramirez, your Ditkos, because those are iconic and those turn the characters into what they were. But there wasn't really anything in between them that popped up for me like this guy did. So
Yeah,
okay, ready, guys?
did
Ready?
it.
7.5.
7.5.
All right, nice.
Wow.
So
What did the former say? What did the forum say on that one? I don't remember now.
That was
Forum
between
said
6.5
7.
and 7. Yeah,
So
Wow.
nice. Good work, Jeff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
still batting over.
We'll take it.
Oh, we'll absolutely take it.
Well, yeah, you will.
Well, and you should too, because you worked on these. So I'm sure there's some satisfaction in seeing
Oh,
this
there is.
come
Oh,
back
yeah,
the
there
way.
definitely is. That's what hooks me and Matt. It just hooks you. You just want to do it again, do something even better.
Oh, we got 252 here.
ASM 252. This is also a newsstand, so these
Newsstand,
are
yeah, I just saw that.
harder to find.
What did we say the grade on that in the forum? What did we say on that one?
8
80 to
to
85.
8.5.
I was going to say, I remember this one being not too bad. I mean, just by looking at the defects, there's really not that many things. I mean, other than the creases and the.
Yeah, there were some
One thing.
creases, nothing I think super color breaking. It did have a bit of a spine roll.
Yes.
Which I think was one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
But again, newsstand and to be expected.
Yeah, if I sent you a batch, this one would be in it for you,
That would be
Jeff.
it, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I have it. No, I bought it off the shelf at a shop. I thought it looked pretty good. It came back as like a 7. Oh, and I think it could be better than that. So
I want to say, I
okay.
think I have you guys on my list again, because I think when I was talking to you one time, I think I was telling you like every so many people, I think I had written your name down again. So I think you guys are on the list again. So it might be sooner than you think.
Well,
All right, sweet.
we'll be waiting patiently because it's worth it. It's worth it every single second. So, all right. I don't remember what the forum said on this one.
Oh yeah, sorry, I moved that too fast. 8 to 8.5.
8 to 8.5. Ooh. Survey says.
Oh, no
wow.
way.
Wow.
Whoa.
Dude.
9.2 in the news.
Dude.
Wow.
First black custom.
You're going to be looking these up. You're going to be going.
Oh,
Congrats.
I have the cover price and go collect ready to go after we're done.
Jay, it just keeps getting better for you. You're having a good night.
I think I like Jeff better than my financial advisor. He just tripled my.
See, I'm not charging enough higher prices. I'm not doing the right thing.
Okay, no, then
Just kidding.
don't listen to me.
It just went to my head. I can't help it.
All right. And last but not least, we have an oldie.
Oh, isn't this Daredevil 5?
This is Daredevil number 5.
Yeah, and this is like the last time he's in.
This is the last time he wears the
and-
yellow costume.
Yeah,
And the first and probably only appearance of the Matador.
the
Which,
Matador.
of course, I love growing in Mexico. Matadors.
Oh
My
my
babe.
god, yeah. It's a
So
nice cover. It's a nice cover, and this one was. I want to say this one wasn't too bad either. I mean, I mean, it had some heavy creases here and there. I mean, I'm just trying to remember if we had fraying. I don't remember if there was fraying on it. I don't think there was.
no, I don't think there was, because I think I was looking for some of those comments in the pictures, because
Yeah.
here we're posting 6 pictures, guys, but Jeff sends way more. That's how much attention to detail he puts in his work. This is not just what he sends. This is just so that I didn't have a 40-page slideshow. But that's not to say that it's not worth it, because it is, as you're seeing.
Yeah.
All right. So forum said 6.0 to 7.5.
I'll tell you right there, that alone, that's a pretty good grade for that age of a book.
Yeah, this is, I think it's 1966, 1964. So
Yeah, I mean that's pretty amazing right there. So a fine grade.
all right. Survey says,
Ooh.
5.
Wow.
5.5.
All right.
Does it say on there like what the sometimes they do, they tell you like the
Um,
oh,
it
I don't think
doesn't-
they're doing it anymore. I think they
no,
I
they're
think
not. They're
that's
not.
right, I forgot.
They're only putting that in the on the web page. So I'll be looking at it. I mean, it's still, what, it presents beautifully. This book is 13 years older than I am. I just gave my age away for those of you keeping count. And it presents beautifully, and it's going to look beautiful on my wall. So it's good.
Well, my prices went back down again.
Yep. See, Jeff. That's what you get for letting it
I
get
know
to
I
your
spoke
head.
too soon. I just kind of gave myself a black eye. See, that's what happens.
So, well, awesome, Jeff. Thank you very much. Those books are amazing. The work you do is tremendous. Can't stress it enough. If you guys are thinking about reaching out to him and you hear 2 years and it discourages you, don't let it discourage you, because you've seen it. It's worth it. It's worth every single penny, and you're going to be really happy with the work that he does.
This is why I do it. I just love to see if people are, their expectations are met. Even I don't know until they tell me. Like not everybody has a live show to do this, and they'll text me back and say, this is fantastic. I don't get to see the grades.
Yeah, and this is why I also wanted to do it live, and why I wanted to do it blind, because I really wanted to portray, how excited I am about these books and the work that you do. And we'll definitely be back on your list. So,
Yeah, like I said, I think you're on there. I'll let you know.
Okay.
and if we're
Yeah.
not, just put us down, because we definitely want
You
to do
got
this
it.
again.
Yep. I've got some to send. So.
Okay.
All right.
Well, it's been
Thanks.
great, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks for
any-
having me on. I really enjoyed it. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. We seriously appreciate it.
We appreciate having you. I know it's a little later on the East Coast. Thanks for staying with us.
Yep, no problem.
To everyone in chat and watching the replay, hope you enjoy the show. We'll catch you next time. We'll be back backstage just to say goodbye to Jeff. But in the meantime, keep flipping those pages.
We'll see you in the next issue.